Alright guys, once again welcome back to this platform. This is Adonis Studio. Here we talk about news and whatever is happening around the globe. Right now what we are hearing is that the Tchetchen commander of Russia has spoken about the incident that happened in Venezuela, the US attack on Venezuela. He is saying that the United States general, one of their general, is saying that their missile failed to work against them. It's not that their missiles has failed to work against them. The reason why there was no missiles launched against the US helicopters or US planes at the airspace of Venezuela was that there was an issue, an order of stand down from the Venezuelans. So the Venezuelans actually betrayed their leader. Venezuelan soldiers or army generals, all the officials actually betrayed Nicolas Maduro. They are not loyal to Nicolas Maduro. That was the information. He actually what spoken about the issue and not talk about whatever is happening in Venezuela. So the capture of President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, was not a perfect execution. It was a giveaway to the United States of America's special forces. So it was not a fight. Because just imagine a country that has a people armed, 1 million people armed men that can actually fight. They are capable of fighting and defending their country. And one of the special forces, yeah, we all know about the Delta forces. We know how they work. They are like superhumans, but yet still they have their flaws. They actually fails. Like we know things, we know the history. Also, some happen in Somalia. We know how it happens. Yeah, because those are also youths. They are not something like immortals. We know that. So the general is saying, the commander is saying right now that the betrayal is from the officials of the government. It's from the officials, the ones in charge of protecting Maduro. They actually betray Maduro. It's not that they have failed. And also, he talked about more about whatever is happening. Let's listen to him.
Friends, I wish you all a good day. So, dear friends, we are all here with you. We have been able to observe the events that took place in Venezuela at the beginning of the year. America, this country that behaves like a rogue state, a true bandit. It committed an act of kidnapping and detention. The political leader of Venezuela, well, they say it was a military operation. That's a completely fabricated story. Of course, there was no military operation. There was a widespread conspiracy, a secret agreement with the entire remaining political leadership of Venezuela, and especially with the head of President Maduro's personal security detail himself, his entire guard, his whole entourage, the entire leadership of Venezuela. They quietly, silently sold out their president. Of course, this is probably the most shameless act that could ever have occurred. No matter who President Maduro is, the shame will fall upon the country. Who could act like this? So what's the most interesting thing? Trump revels in what is, in fact, his predatory actions, claiming that 200 of these men did something supernatural. Yes, it was American money that did it. And of course, the corrupt leaders, the venal and totally sold out elites of Venezuela. Together, they accomplished what has already been done. The fact that they know how to bribe and that they managed to negotiate this way well, yes, kudos to them. There was no military action. But what struck me most is that the American leadership starts talking about something like air defense, which is supposedly Russian, which is supposedly, in short and mocking, Russian-made air defense. The situation is that for Russian air defense to work, you need men, real men, ready to push the button. Let them do their job. If there are no real men, air defense is equipment. And to say that Russian air defense is some kind of junk, well, I think that's a bit like, as they say, a childish joke. When each of them begins to reevaluate their own relationships, both within the global bloc and in their dealings with America in one form or another, believe me, humanity will have entered a new era. And we too, of course, must understand that we have entered a new era, negotiating and discussing with people who have absolutely no honesty in keeping their word. People who speak of friendship and then proceed to insult our state, our supreme commander-in-chief. These are not people we should concern ourselves with, or even take into consideration. We must have our own course of action, a firm course, and we must advance toward our victory. All of Europe is preparing to wage war against Russia. We must open our eyes wide, wake up, and we too must begin to seriously prepare for this war. And of course, I can assure you of one thing with certainty. Russia, whatever may be done, will win. That's for sure. They don't have the strength to make Russia lose because God loves Russia. And I'll tell you something else. Why should we pay homage to the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin? He is a man who always keeps his word. That is precisely why we should pay him homage. And Trump, what about him today? He gives his word. Tomorrow, he takes it back. The day after, he swore his love. The next day, he says we are enemies. But who is he then? He is precisely one of the, if not the, Dajjal himself, the Antichrist. So there you have it. Don't worry about anything. Do what you have to do. Do not lose heart in our struggle, for we cannot tire of fighting the army of the Antichrist until we have won. We will win. That is certain. That is certain. And do not worry about anything. Pray. Pray, all of you, for our country, for the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, for all of us. Thank you all for your support. Arkema, the force, Russia, the power. God is one. Allahu, and the loss of this country would be a very bad thing for us. But at the same time, well, what happened, happened. Trump has demonstrated once again that he is indeed a terrorist. In other words, he has taken hostages and is demanding that the state hand over all the wealth he so desperately needs. So, here is the conclusion. Trump is not only the enemy of Russia, he is the enemy of all humanity. And you will see much later how, thanks to his intervention, the escalation will spread globally. Trump, the great peacemaker, will accomplish his work, and we will witness it. He is one of the most malevolent, most pernicious swindlers you could ever find on this earth. And one could absolutely say that he is precisely this Antichrist Dajjal, with all these slogans, when he shouts, when he proclaims that no one can stop him, that he will do whatever he deems necessary. Wait, but isn't that precisely the hallmark of this army of the Antichrist Dajjal, which is supposed to flout all rules and norms? To say one thing and do another? So, what are the slogans that resonate right now? All those who refuse to do what Trump has ordered, or as he so aptly puts it, we will choose them all, without exception. So, what does that mean in concrete terms? And he has arrogated to himself the role of God. True believers must understand that Trump is just a man. Yes, for a certain year, he will rule in this way. But believe me, what he has done will come back to haunt him and America, and very badly. They shot themselves in the foot. In fact, now all countries have realized that there is no more international law, no more UN, nothing. There is only the law. Yes, when there's a massive attack from all directions, as they say in the heart of the country, our air defenses can't shoot down so many drones with such rockets. And air defense systems simply cannot be positioned to shoot down, without exception, everything that crosses the airspace, whether it's small or large birds. Such an interception is simply impossible. But if we're talking about the helicopters that gallop through Caracas, bringing Maduro directly from the center of the military compound where over 100,000 people live, and they're almost all military personnel. Imagine military personnel, military families. It's a pure setup and has absolutely nothing to do with the military operation. Nothing to do with our Russian-made air defenses. The cowards and traitors have done their dirty work. And of course, for that, infamy will mark them forever. Now everyone's talking about Russia getting a slap in the face, being insulted. But it wasn't Russia that was offended or insulted. Russia was only there in name in Venezuela. To be frank, if anyone got a slap or an insult, it was China, because China has invested more in Venezuela than anyone else. They've already invested hundreds of billions of dollars there, to my knowledge. They deployed there. There were practically only Chinese people, and they invested a lot there. In fact, America fundamentally took action that, in a way, pushed China out of Venezuela. As for us, well, yes, we also invested money there. That's true. But if you compare what China invested with what we invested, well, we invested much less money. And it is clear that for us, Venezuela has always been a friendly country, and it still is today.